Thanks for tuning into this conversation with the management of Nelco. Any conversation with them is never about what they did in a particular quarter, but about the promise that the space holds and what can Nelco do within that. Mr. PJ Nath joins in right now to talk about, well, yes, the quarter and the year gone by, but more importantly about the outlook ahead. And I understand that they won't be able to give specific guidance, but it would be lovely to understand from him about what color that he can provide as to what's happening in the space and what is Nelco doing within that. Mr. Nath, great having you. Thanks so much for taking the time out. Hope all is well.
Thank you, Neeraj. Thank you for getting me in today.
Well, the pleasure is entirely ours. Just let's get started with the quarter and get it out of the way. I mean, it was a steady as she goes. I think revenue numbers are flattish. You did a marginal uptick on profits if I looked at the consolidated numbers. Anything that stood out in the quarter which I have missed and you would like to highlight, Mr. Nath?
No, I think we are pretty happy with the quarter because that's the way we are expecting the quarter to be. The reason that it's just flat is that our business has got some seasonality to it for some of the sectors, and therefore the quarter one is typically subdued and it kind of ramps up towards quarter three and quarter four. And to that extent, this is expectation, and we are happy that our overall profitability has gone up. Our profitability is better than what was there previously. So I think that's just a good sign, and we are pretty bullish about the future.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about the optimism then, because everybody talks about how the domestic aviation market picking up in consumption, aircraft comms segment could actually see a substantial uptick too. I heard you say that you are pretty positive about the future. Tell us why so.
See, we are already operational as far as the Aero IFC is concerned. It's just that today it is mainly all the international aircraft flying over India who are using our services. The domestic aviation sector is a big opportunity. We do not believe that will happen within the next 1 year because of the time required to get all the aircrafts equipped and get them operational. And also the domestic airlines are really looking at the right business model to make it happen. But whenever it happens, it's a big market that we see. So therefore, we are very bullish from that perspective. Although in the current financial year, we're not really expecting major revenue coming out of that. But going forward, yes, it will be one of the very big market segment that we see coming up.
So how would the market growth could look like, if you can tell us that? And part two, what kind of role would Nelco play within that growing market?
Okay, when we are saying the market, we are looking at the VSAT communication service, satellite communication service as a whole. And we focus on enterprise market, which is a fixed VSATs today. We also focus on the Aero IFC, and we focus on the maritime communication. We believe that all of them will grow. So that's one. Within the enterprise market, there are very many sectors, be it your banking, be it your education, energy, village connectivity coming up, etc. There are very many different segments. What we believe is that with the newer satellites coming in, the newer technologies coming, the prices for capacities coming down, many more use cases will come up, and there will be many segments within the enterprise market which will grow up much faster than what it has grown. There will be more use cases coming up as well. So we see growth coming there. We see growth coming in the Aero IFC because as the domestic aircrafts start offering Wi-Fi on the aircraft, we believe that the consumption can become fairly high, considering the way we use data in the country. The maritime communication similarly will grow with more vessels getting equipped for satellite communication. That will also start growing. So we see all of them growing. Apart from that, we see land mobility to be becoming a reality. Land mobility has not been using satellite communication so far, but going forward with the license now becoming flexible, it allows us that. We saw the new technologies coming, new capacities, satellite capacities coming. We see a lot of business happening on the land mobility as well. So overall, if you see that overall satellite communication is poised for a growth in the next few years.
Lovely. Mr. Nath, think of me as a student trying to understand how does Nelco benefit from all of this in terms of the business model. So just trying to understand, I'm taking a simple example. Let's assume Air India, which is a Tata enterprise, 470 planes coming up over a period of the next few years. But a bunch of aircrafts already in operation, and in India at large, a bunch of aircrafts, the quantum of aircrafts going into execution and to the skies is going to expand materially. How, and assuming that Wi-Fi connectivity and Wi-Fi communication becomes a norm in a couple of years' time, if you will, how does Nelco benefit from that? Could you explain that to us, please?
Yeah, so because aircraft communication is most viable using satellite communication, there has to be a service provider who's able to create the entire service and offer it up to the aircraft. The service provider has to be able to serve the consumers or the passengers who's in the aircraft, have to have the right kind of connectivity, right kind of service, right kind of quality of service, etc., etc. Right. So Nelco as a company, we is creating the entire service. Our input is the raw satellite bandwidth, that satellite transponder capacity that we take from different satellite operators. Then we have the different technologies which are required to convert it into a usable service and deliver it to the end customer. And in this case, it will be the passenger on the aircraft. So this is an entire service that we deliver. And we therefore gain by offering this service on the aircraft, which would not be possible otherwise.
Got it. Would there be other, because the space is growing, I'm just trying to understand, and this sounds a very lucrative and a very obvious business opportunity. Are there other dominant players who can provide or can hope to provide the same kind of service that you do? And is there a moat around this because of the years that you already spent behind this?
Okay, we believe that we have an advantage. That's our view, but I'm sure that as the market opens up, as more customers start using it, competition will definitely come in. So we are cognizant of that fact, and then we will handle it as and when the whole market plays out.
Okay. The other aspect is, we knew about maritime communication and aviation, of course. You mentioned land. There's also this talk about Spacecom also coming in, and India is such a large player there. So talk to us a bit about both of the other aspects, which is land as well as Spacecom, if you have some clarity there.
When you say Spacecom, I guess you are referring to the Spacecom policy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, the Spacecom policy has been announced by the government. It's a very positive policy. It is clearly intended to give impetus to the private sector in participating in the space technology. So I think that's the first preamble of the government, and which is very positive for us. We, from a satellite communication perspective, we see that the ability to get newer satellites, the newer technologies coming to the country, being able to directly contract with the satellite operators, our ability to serve markets beyond India, using the services, using the infrastructure within the country, of course, subject to the regulations of the other countries. These are some of the areas which are very positive, and we believe that will give a boost to the industry. The finer details in terms of how the whole thing will be operationalized is still being, is being discussed, and is not yet evolved and come out to the market, and that will happen in the due course. But overall, we believe it's a very, very positive policy to give a boost to the satellite communication services and to the private sector industry participating in this sector. So that's that part. You talked of land mobility. The land mobility, unlike has not taken off the way it should have taken off, and land mobility could be in terms of connected cars, in terms of fleet management, etc. So there are many opportunities where many areas where satellite communication will be able to offer the right kind of services, which is difficult to offer on the terrestrial communication for this sector. And that, we believe, will be another big sector which will evolve in the next few years.
Got it. Mr. Nath, in some fashion, you've kind of spoken about your right to win or the advantageous position that you have. Just trying to understand, and I'm not asking you for a guidance for Nelco, but how large potentially, in some numbers, some idea about how together could this market size be, which you would be operating in, if not now, then let's say 5 years out, let's say FY 27, 28, how large could this overall market be, and what's the kind of I mean, I don't know if I can use the term market share, do you reckon that you would be happy to command?
Yeah, so we have currently about 30% market share, and we would be definitely keen to retain that market share. So
Okay.
that's one. As far as what the market size would be, in fact, that is one thing that we are all trying to, get a good handle on. The reason being that satellite communication industry is really going through an inflection point, right? For very many reasons, in terms of the policy changing, in terms of the type of technologies which are coming up, both in terms of satellite as well as in the ground infrastructure. And so these are some of the things which are quite unprecedented the way it is happening in the country right now. And therefore, a lot of work is being done. And I would like to reserve my comments at the moment in terms of giving a specific number. Having said that, we believe that there will be multifold growth in the next 5 to 6 years in this sector.
Okay. So current market size is about 1,000 crores, you would say, give or take, and it could be multifold over the course of the next few years.
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And I did hear you say that maybe it doesn't quite take off in 2000 or FY24, but maybe post FY24, FY25 onwards, we could see some growth there.
Yes, because this is a service industry. Things take time to. It's not a product business where you sell a product and recognize revenue immediately. It's all on accrual, so it takes time for the traffic to build, the customers to set in, etc. Right. So therefore, that kind of a huge growth is not going to happen within a year's time. But a good part is that the ball has started rolling. If you see, last year also we grew by 20% over the previous year, so it's kind of indicative of how the business has been growing. And so we believe that in the next 5 to 6 years, the growth is going to be much stronger for the satellite communication industry in India.
And you believe you can do that higher growth at better operational metrics that you have been currently? Because, I mean, you've been circa this 20% mark for the last 5 odd years, give or take a few percentage points here and there. With higher numbers, do higher margins come?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, our intention is always to increase the margin. There's no two ways about that. But a lot of factors are changing. Once the volumes are going so high, there'll be also other factors coming up in terms of what is the expectation from the market in terms of price points, where does the elasticity come, etc. Right. So therefore, we believe that we'll definitely be able to maintain our current EBITDA margins, and we'll try to increase beyond that. That's the aim. But at the moment, to really put a hard number on that is slightly difficult. Maybe it'll take about a year or so once this entire thing evolves to say that what would be the margin. But then we don't expect the margin to go down from where we are right now.
Got it. Mr. Nath, last two questions. One, I mean, you've done a tie-up. I believe at least you announced a tie-up with Intelsat. I don't know if it's kind of taken wings and moved ahead. You also, if I'm not wrong, did a strategic investment in a satellite network provider, Pisces Network, if I'm not wrong. What is this strategy? Is it a string of pearls approach to try and getting all the pieces within your network? Could you talk about it?
Yes, two things. What we do with Intelsat, one is that as Intelsat as a company, we get a lot of capacity on their satellite. It's a high throughput satellite over India, and we use it to serve our customers. So that's one part. The other relationship that we have, where we announced a partnership with Intelsat Commercial Aviation, is that they are a global IFC player, which is their global aero IFC service provider. So all their customers' aircraft, which are international airlines who are their customers, their aircraft, whenever they're flying over India, they use our services. So that's the type that we talked of with the partnership that we signed with Intelsat Commercial Aviation. As far as Pisces Network is concerned, they are a startup who have got a SD-WAN technology. We have invested in that company. And the reason why we invested is that, SD-WAN is becoming an important part of our overall story, because we are not only offering only satellite communication, but a more comprehensive solution to our customers. And there will be occasions where it's a multimedia communication in terms of multiple media communication. For example, you have VSAT as well as you have a broadband or a 4G, and combined you offer services. And when you do that, you require an SD-WAN router for doing that. We believe that gives us a fairly good competitive advantage, and enables us to create more comprehensive solution for our customers in terms of offering satellite communication services. And that's why we invested in that company. Going forward, would we do that, anything similar? At any point in time, we keep looking for opportunities. So the moment we find something which is strategic in nature, we will definitely look at it.
Got it. Mr. Nath, my final question. How does somebody who's looking at it from outside understand about the inflection point and the way ahead? I mean, for example, could it be that the government announces Wi-Fi or airlines announce Wi-Fi communication connectivity in multiple routes, which leads to this inflection point, or is there something else? Are there markers which can make your stakeholders understand that this is the time when the space at large or the industry at large would actually now start looking at higher revenues, if you will?
No, I think the way I would say is that it should come more from the more larger thing. For example, the new policy. I think that's the important part. The new satellite technology is coming in, so I think that's the other part. Then you talk about the new ground infrastructure, new technology for ground infrastructure, new technologies for antenna systems, which are again very important enablers for a satellite communication to really get to proliferate more into the different segments in the country. I think those are the ones which are the markers which would give the indication that yes, the satellite communication can now take off. The regulation has been a very important part because so far the growth of the satellite communication industry has been subdued because of a very stringent regulatory regime. For example, if you were to look at the in-flight and maritime communication, till 2018, it was not even allowed in the country. The moment it got announced into the end of 2018, the new IFMC policy, you could see how the market started taking up that. There was a new segment opening up. So now, to my mind, the new space policy, the newer technologies coming are some of the indicators of how the satellite communication industry is going to grow.
Got it. Okay. Mr. Nath, we wish you all the best for that. And what you do well will help all of us as commuters in various forms of modes of transport. So we certainly hope that you succeed. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you so much.
The pleasure was ours. Viewers, thanks for tuning in.